Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of the Profitable Mindset Podcast.
Welcome to the Profitable Mindset, a show dedicated to teaching you the skills you need to build a profitable product-based business that makes you feel free and fully in control. Here is your host, Charlotte Smith.
Hey there, you guys. Welcome back to episode number 12 of the Profitable Mindset Podcast. And today is Q&A day. I'm doing something a little different because I get some really fantastic questions almost every day. And the answers to these questions often will help all farmers. So I plan on doing these Q&A episodes occasionally, maybe once per quarter, so I can get all this valuable info out to you guys. So if you have a question you want answered on the next Q&A session, you can always reach me at info@3cowmarketing.com. Send it there and I'll either answer it there or it'll be on one of these Q&A episodes in the future. Okay, so please reach out. First, though, before I dive in, as usual, I'd like to share a listener review. I am so grateful to you guys. And also, I'm really incredibly honored. I get to read some of the most amazing things that you're taking valuable time to write. I'm just super glad the information I'm sharing is helping you all. I'm also so thankful when you leave a review because that's what gets the podcast out there to help even more farmers. So just know that I really appreciate the time that you're taking to do that. And please, if you haven't yet, jump on iTunes and do it. It means so much to me. Today's review, though, I want to give a shout out to Clatter Ridge Farm, and they say it's for every farmer. They go on to say, I started my farm 17 years ago, and I wish I'd had Charlotte's advice back then. I still learn so much every podcast, things that seem so obvious when she says them, but never occurred to me. And this is the second business I've started. Some things just aren't intuitive, and you can easily find yourself getting sidetracked. Thank you, Charlotte. Oh, you guys, thank you. Thank you, Clatter Ridge Farm. I really appreciate it. And I'm totally honored with these things you guys are writing. Okay, but now let's dive back into the Q&A episodes. Such great questions. The first one comes from Caitlin, and she asks, when first starting out, what are the best cash flowing products to hit the ground running with to put money back into the farm quickly so you can keep expanding? First of all, Caitlin, know that the answer to this question depends on if you want to go the livestock and animal route or the vegetable or flower route even. And Caitlin said that they're open to all things, but she was thinking of starting out with herbs and veggies, which is perfect. I'm going to start out, though, with those of you who are interested in going the livestock route, since that's what we did. 10 years ago, I started my raw milk dairy. We had Jersey cows, and this was hugely helpful for cash flow year-round because we're a year-round dairy. I had full udders in the morning. I'd milk the cows. I'd have a refrigerator full of milk by 10 a.m. And then by the end of the day, I'd have a box full of money. It was as simple as that. And also, I hit the ground running with my marketing, so I had customers ready and willing and able to buy from the get-go. And I started with one cow, and I added my second cow a month later. So it was just a wonderful business model, and it was the best cash-flowing product I've ever had on our farm. That is a bunch of milk in the morning and a box of money at night, 7 days a week. Now, of course, not everyone has the interest in a dairy, or maybe you don't have the space or even the money to go out and get started with the infrastructure it requires. But still, if you want to do animals, there's other options. Another great cash flow product that we still do today is meat chickens, of course. And it's a much less expensive startup, obviously, than with dairy or even beef cows or pigs. The learning curve is also way less expensive than with larger animals. And of course, as long as you've done your marketing, like I teach you in Farm Marketing from the Heart, your cash turnaround can be just 8 weeks with pastured poultry. And you can do that once in the summer or you can do it on a schedule. We do it about every 2 weeks. So that can be a really great option to start with. And you may have heard this. People call chickens the gateway drug to farming because so many people start with them because of that low barrier to entry. But Caitlin, since you said you wanted to do herbs and veggies, on that note, you might consider microgreens. The turnaround on those is about a week or so if you're practicing our marketing techniques, so they can be hugely profitable. And they're also super trendy right now. I see them in restaurants all over the world. Also, a lot of people are buying them for home use too. So it's just a great product for right now. And I know several farmer friends right here in the Profitable Mindset audience raising microgreens and making a nice living on them. So it might be a great option for you to start with. The other part of Caitlin's question, she asked, what is the best way to draw in customers? And she says, are farmers markets really worth it? Okay, so this is for everyone, of course. I want you all to know that you will draw in customers and potential customers when you take the initiative to get in front of people and show them how your products serve them. In other words, you've got to make the first move of getting out there and meeting people. And when you do this, and you know specifically what you're selling, how it helps them solve their problems or reach their goals, and who exactly your product is for, and you go out there and you communicate that, you will notice people being drawn to you. So just know that you don't start up a new business and people are drawn to you just because you started it. You're the one that has to go first and make that first move. And it's totally doable. We teach this and we see our students have great success all the time. You can't just put up an ad or maybe a Facebook page or a website and find that people are drawn to you. When you take that initiative to show them how your products help them and you relate with them, you'll see more and more traffic to your website or your social media sites or your farm store or market booth, and even emails and phone calls. Those all start flowing in when you take the initiative to get out there. Okay. So know that you've got to put yourself out there first. And the second part of your question there was, yes, farmers markets are absolutely worth it to get yourself out there. Now, some people think that they're in a place where they have a bad farmers market, or maybe the manager is not doing their job. So even then, I still find that markets are worth it, especially if you're new. But if a market is getting some kind of traffic flow, it's still worth it. Because remember what I teach, that your goal at the farmer's market is to build relationships first and then get them on your potential customer list, and not just to try to sell the product that you brought in that day. So if there are any warm bodies whatsoever moving through the farmer's market, then yes, of course, it's worth it. Now, if it indeed is a low quality market, some of you have complained about the vendors that are there and the shoppers that are there are not looking for farm fresh products. Of course, you may outgrow that market quickly, but because of how marketing works, just the fact that you get out there will draw people to you regardless of the quality of the market due to the energy you create. Okay. So I love that marketing works this way. One other thing I want to mention, Caitlin, and everyone else, is in your full question to me, you said you were thinking about starting with a micro dairy and then microgreens and herbs, and then maybe adding in chickens and lamb, and you're even thinking of selling day-old chicks. So I want to point out that that is 5 different product lines right there, which are 5 different learning curves and 5 different infrastructures on your farm. You know, there's some overlap, but they're different. And also certainly more than one target customer. So I want to warn you that this line of thinking and planning will do your farm in before you ever get it off the ground. Just because you're spread yourself way too thin, you won't have the resources to manage all of those different product lines, not to mention trying to learn all the different learning curves, okay? So I'm in the business of helping farmers build profitable farms, and I just see way too many farmers go out of business quickly for this very reason. They think a diversified farm from the get-go is a great goal, but really it's a marketing nightmare. And it's a business nightmare too if you're trying to build a profitable business. Okay? Diversifying too soon always dilutes your marketing and your farming efforts both. It's just a lot more work for a lot less income. So be sure to go back, listen to my first episode number 1 of the Profitable Mindset podcast. In there, I talk about the 25 steps to start and set up your farm business. And I talk about how important it is to have that one signature product. And I'll link to that in the show notes too. Now, Caitlin, I want you to know that you're going to be successful, whatever you choose, when you choose just one thing, okay? Because of that intense focus and consistency and the mastery you will build. Okay, so I want everyone listening to know that too. Also, know that when you choose multiple things, you will be diluted in all your efforts, your marketing, and your ability to connect with the right people. It'll just be much more difficult the more products you add. So also know that if you aren't good at selling and marketing the first thing, you're definitely not going to be good at adding a second or third or fourth product. And yes, I know this is often the opposite of what most business owners think. Most people think that if the first thing they try to sell isn't selling like they want it to sell, it will get better when they add a second or third or fourth product. But for business success, you will want one signature product, and you'll want to get profitable on that product and sold out on that product and have a wait list for that product before you ever add your second product. All right, now I want to move on to the next question. This is from Aaron. It was kind of a big question, which I had to do my homework on and make some notes in order to answer it. Aaron asked if I could share my schedule, both work and personal. She asked, what is my week set up like? Well, for me, and probably most of us who farm, there's really not a clear delineation between work and personal, especially when we have kids too. The lines are so blurred, but that's okay. Really, I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it. My schedule reflects those blurred lines too. Erin goes on to say that she's trying to keep her mornings and or late evenings after kids go to bed set aside for flower farming. And she has 4 kids. She also works from home at a day job, and she has family and church commitments. And she hasn't yet scheduled time for blogging and social media and computer time. And she'd love to see how I break things down as an example. She also asked, what do I suggest on how to balance all the needs? All right. So as I dive into this, I'll answer one thing first is I really don't think that balance exists. I've learned throughout my life that saying yes to one thing always means saying no to something else, or it might even mean saying no to a lot of other things. Okay. So I want to remind Erin too that she has 4 little kids at home and I only have 1 left at home. So my life looked very different 10 years ago when I started my farm and I had 3 kids at home. So I want to caution any of you with small children against comparing me today and my schedule to your lives today because of that. Know that many of us are at very different stages in our family life there, and our schedules will look different to reflect that. But I'm still going to unpack Erin's question and answer it and share my schedule because I know there's some little nuggets in my schedule that will help you, even though our lifestyle is very different right now. One thing I want to bring up, I think we can agree on as women, and that's that we tend to want to say yes to requests made of us. I do this, and I see, Erin, that you've committed to a lot of things too. And I think all the listeners here will relate as well. You know, we like to often say yes first, and then it comes back to bite us later. I have learned that the hard way, that I really need to stop and say no way more often than I say yes. I want to make it my goal to make sure that my kids and my husband and my self-care is getting all the attention it needs before I ever say yes to an outside request. So I'm continuing to learn that in my life. All right. And now to answer your question, what does my schedule look like? I did go through and write it down. And remember, I have 1 child left at home, so I don't have to think about childcare for her either. And I do want you to consider, though, that if you have kids at home and you're trying to build and run a farm business, you will be a better wife and a better mother and a better business owner if you can try to get help with your kids, either trading with childcare with another mom, or maybe it's paid childcare. I traded a ton when my kids were little. So you can find another mom with kids the same age as yours and trade days of the week. That worked fabulous for me. Then I was able to have some focus time in my schedule, even if it was like 2 days a week for a few hours on those 2 days that I did for years and years. And I busted my butt during those 2 days. I had some free time to focus on the business. So I encourage all you moms of those little ones to find someone to watch your kids. That way you'll be showing up as a happy mom instead of a grumpy mom, and a happy wife and a happy business owner too. Okay, so let's move on. Completing my schedule. We get up at about 5 o'clock every morning. Both my husband and I, we go our separate ways. We both have a morning routine. I call mine my power hour. It's from 5 to 6 a.m. It's when I do my self-coaching. I got to make sure that I have productive, helpful thoughts all day long and all throughout my life. This is just like I teach my coaching clients. This is a learned skill that I teach. It's not a skill you're born with. Our primitive brain wants to rule our thoughts. And so there's a lot of fear in there if you let it take over. So it's a learned skill that I practice in my own space every day from 5 to 6 a.m., even when I'm traveling out of town. And that is part of my self-care, right along with working out or my skincare routine or any of those things. Okay, it's from 5 to 6 a.m. Then at 6 a.m., I just spend a couple minutes going over my day's schedule. I remind myself what my top 3 priorities are. So, Erin, my schedule is important, but my commitment to keeping that schedule and completing my 3 priorities for the day is everything. The schedule doesn't really matter if the commitment to complete it isn't there. So that's what helps me keep my schedule and keep my commitment, is I decide ahead of time that I will do the things on that schedule. So I usually determine at the beginning of the week what my weekly schedule is. And the night before each day, I commit to keeping the next day's schedule. And if I foresee anything or any roadblocks that might make me not want to commit, I can deal with them in the moment because I've taken a look at that in advance. Also, I want to point out, talking about schedules, that being a scheduled person is not a personality trait. I've had some people tell me that they just don't have the personality to be scheduled, but it is truly a learned and practiced skill. It's a function of our higher brain or our prefrontal cortex. So it's really important to develop that skill, develop a schedule, and then become a person who commits to keeping that schedule in order to build your dream life. And really, it just takes practice. You will teach yourself how to do this the more you practice it. You're not just born being able to do that, okay? So anyway, that is my 5 to 6 a.m. 6 to 7 a.m. every day is family time. I make everyone breakfast, get them up if my daughter's not up yet, organize lunches so that lunchtime is really easy, pick up the kitchen. We share what our day looks like. 7 to 8 a.m. if it's a school year, which starts back up soon, I drive my daughter to school and then I go swimming or I work out. And if it's this time of year in the summer, that 7 to 8 a.m. time is spent getting her organized for the day. What are her chores? What are her activities? Does she have a friend coming over, that sort of thing. Since I only have one child, I take time to make sure she is occupied because she doesn't have that built-in playmate anymore since everyone else has moved out. And then I may check on her throughout the day to make sure she's continued engaging in what she's supposed to, but I just make sure she's all set at 8 a.m. Then 8 to 9 a.m., I check in with my employees and their priorities for the day. We do a stand-up meeting, takes about 15 minutes. I learn from them if there's something I need to do, like place an order or pick something up. Then I get myself ready for work. This is really important to me. And I know, Erin, you said you work a day job from home too. It has made a big difference in my life. I started doing several years ago that I dress up for my office work every day, because I found that I take it more seriously and I'm able to focus more, oddly, maybe. And also, it's not uncommon for a customer or potential customer to show up at my door, or maybe I have to do a quick marketing video or something like that. So I always make sure I'm prepared and that I look professional. I've got my hair and makeup done, and it just makes me able to tackle and complete everything I need to do during the day. And every once in a while, I have really great opportunities to come up during the day. Like someone might call and say, hey, can I come interview you right now? We're in the area. We're doing a story on this. And if I'm dressed and ready to go for the day, I can totally take care of that. That has happened to me several times over the 10 years I've been farming. So I want to make sure it's just part of my self-care. And then 9 a.m., I'm in my office from 9 to 2. I'm there. I may take a very short break every hour. Sometimes I have to check up on something out on the farm, or like I said, talk to a customer for a brief time. But I'm very focused on what I have to do for the day. And having that very detailed schedule means it's easy for me to slip in any last minute emergency or knock on the door, which you can always count on when you run a farm, it seems like. And then during my 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. time, when I'm at my office desk, I have my top 3 things that I'm going to get done each day in my office. They're written down. It varies. It might be writing a marketing email, writing a blog post, researching and recording a video, planning my social media posts for the week, recording this podcast right now, or any variety of things. So all of those things might happen during the week, but the key is I constrain myself to completing 3 things a day. That is my goal every day, to complete 3 things, not work on 10 different things and focus on getting part of things done and be scattered, but I commit to completing 3 things a day. That I started doing about 5 years ago too, and that has changed my world. So everything is now on my calendar and there's no more to-do list in my life. And that's helped tremendously with productivity. I have my 3 things on my calendar that I know will be completed each day. I can even look a week ahead of time, maybe even 2 weeks ahead of time, and know what my top 3 priorities are for every single day. All right, then 2 p.m. comes, I clean off my desk. This is the first time in 10 years I've been able to clean off my desk at 2 o'clock and not do office work into the evening. So that has also really helped with my anxiety and sustainability of running the farm. So 2 o'clock comes and I'm either getting my daughter from school or running some errands, or today we're going to go on a trail ride, or she's doing homework. And I try to have some downtime in the afternoon where I can shut my brain off. Maybe I work out in the garden. We make dinner together. And then when evening comes, I usually have to check in with my employee very briefly who's out there doing things. And we talk about what might happen the next day. And again, that's maybe a 10-minute check-in. Otherwise, my family spends the evening together. We might be reading. Maybe we'll watch a movie. Maybe we're outside. Just some really quality family time that, again, took us many years to be able to create that space in our life. But it has been so important for our sustainability to do this career long term. And then for the first time, we've been able to take Sundays off from farm work. There were a few years there where we were working really late nights, even through the weekend. We'd be out in the barn and the field till 9 p.m. And we realized something really had to change. So we take Sundays off completely from farm work, and it has been really wonderful. And then one more thing I want to share with you on scheduling. I teach hundreds of farmers a year in my paid marketing courses. I can tell you this, the ones who are the most successful keep fairly rigid schedules like this. So if you think a schedule is rigid and then it won't work for your farm business, it's actually really freeing for when those surprises come up. And we're always going to have tons of surprises here. So you will get far more done when you learn to create a schedule and then commit to it. Okay? All right. Then the next question comes from another Erin, and she asked, how much time do you spend marketing versus actually doing farm work? She says, some days farm work seems all-consuming, but the marketing side seems to demand the same attention. So yes, for sure, Aaron, some days are going to be all consuming, especially during certain seasons. So I make sure I account for that during the busy spring and summer days, knowing that in the winter, I'll have more time to do some of that office work, like maybe researching my blog posts ahead of time so that in summer when I have less time, they are all planned out, they're all written, and I can balance that out. That's the beauty of email marketing too, is you can get all that stuff scheduled ahead of time so you don't have to worry about it when those certain days come up. Also, next episode, you guys have this to look forward to. It's how I market my farm in 1 hour a day. So that will help give you more details about how I spend my time marketing versus farming. And I do have some tips for you right now. Schedule it just like I just went through with my daily schedule. Make sure your marketing time is scheduled and you've committed to it. And as far as your time on how much, or your question on how much time I spend marketing, well, I've been at this for 10 years, so I have to spend way less time marketing my farm now than during the first few years. Using the methods I teach in Farm Marketing from the Heart, we've been able to keep a full roster from the start. We also have a big wait list, and we daily have even more people funneling into our farm and joining that potential customer base. So probably about year 4 of my business, I noticed I was able to spend a lot less time marketing. And now, more than ever before, I only need to spend a little bit of time because you can repurpose all that marketing material you created those first few years. Also, know that we are done expanding our farm. We're at capacity. So I'm no longer expanding, I'm maintaining. And this information I'm sharing with you about how marketing gets easier over the years is really helpful for all of you because I want you to know that it may seem crazy at first, like you are spending a ton of time marketing and it's so demanding, and you will do that the first 2 years or 3 years, but eventually you will be able to repurpose most of what you create and you will be able to spend less time marketing. Now, I do want to get more specific here and talk about the first few years of business when I was milking my cows with part-time help and doing 100% of the marketing. I was spending 8 to 10 hours a week marketing. So that's the answer to your question, and especially those of you within the first few years, depending on the size of your farm. So let me throw some numbers out on farm size so you can maybe do a little comparison. Those first few years, I was grossing about $150,000 in sales. After all expenses and taxes and all that, take home was about $70,000. And I would choose to reinvest some of that $70,000 too, but the net was $70,000. So when you figure in 8 to 10 hours a week, gross $150,000, net $70,000, that gives you some numbers to look at and compare and just swap out the context of your farm when you think of that. And then, Aaron, also as part of your question, you asked me if time is limited, what marketing method would I consider most important? Well, this is a super great question. And the answer is, and has been for my whole time of teaching marketing to farmers for 8 years now, always email marketing, 100%. Email marketing has withstood the test of time. There's nothing that will make you more profit faster than email marketing and a profitable, sustainable farm. So if you can only do one thing during your day or during your week, that would totally be it. So this means you're creating fresh content for your website at a minimum of once a month, and you will get the most of your money from doing that practice. So some people think that, well, since they only have a little bit of time to do some marketing, they will forego the email marketing and they'll just put up an Instagram post or a Facebook post. But I want you to know you'll make far less money and probably no money off of an Instagram post or a Facebook post, okay? But with your email marketing, using the methods I teach, your emails will soon become like ours and make $5,000 to $6,000 per email. And of course, depending on the size and context of your farm. You will never make that kind of money off of the same time spent on social media marketing, guaranteed. So my 8 to 10 hours a week was and still marketing time is spent on email marketing. And then I use Facebook and Instagram posts to complement that. Okay. But email marketing is the priority if you have limited time. All right. Now, next question is from Jennifer. She asks, what are the essential components to setting up a farm store to make pickup times convenient for the farm and for customers? Because people's lives are crazy and they want to stop in at all times, she said. Okay, so Jennifer, I have a lot of instruction on how setting store hours will be so much more efficient for you, and it will be more profitable for you. You'll quickly and easily teach people to come to you and your location when you're open. And if you continue just making yourself available at all hours, they'll want to show up at all hours. They'll take you up on that offer as long as you do that. And then what happens is you're going to be stressed out, you're going to be run ragged, and you'll realize you just can't keep that up. So I would love to see you. I would love to encourage you to tighten up your availability of when your products are available. You can do this by offering an evening time during the week for pickup. That's for people who work. And then offer a Saturday morning time. These are often the most popular hours for both us and the students I teach. So it might be a Thursday evening and a Saturday morning. People will figure out a way in their schedule to come during those hours. Otherwise, if you don't set up some hours like this, you're going to drive yourself nuts if you just have people call as needed and then you drop everything to serve them, okay? Having set store hours also helps you build a deeper connection with your customers. You'll find them being much more loyal, and it will just make you less frazzled. And also, you're going to make more money because of what's called the reciprocity effect and the influencer effect. What this means is when people are in your store or your place of business and they see other people buying something, they want to go buy that and buy more of it too. Okay. So you want to strategize this influencer effect and create that in your shopping experience. So that's why it's really imperative that you work towards having set store hours quickly. And just know that people will come to you. They will adjust their schedules to make sure they get there when you're open. Okay, next question. Christy feels really overwhelmed and would love a step-by-step process on how to get started. So this is super easy. I have the perfect thing to help you, Christy. If you're overwhelmed and you want that step-by-step process, I have got a whole podcast series on the 25 steps to start and set up your farm business. I'll link to that in the show notes too. It's also over at 3cowmarketing.com/25 steps. And along with that, the first 5 episodes of the Profitable Mindset podcast explain all those steps in depth. I've had farmers email me since I first shared that back in May of their huge successes they've already had following those steps. So definitely go get that. Now you'll have the step-by-step process on how to set up and start your farm business. And do plan to try to work my Farm Marketing from the Heart course into your budget. It's not expensive. I teach it again in September. And in that course, you'll develop a step-by-step marketing plan specific to your farm. So don't wait to invest in your own learning and your own personal development. That is going to be key to your success too. All right. Next question is from Isaac. And he says, how do you juggle growing the farm and sales when a spouse is not 100% on board? Okay, I want to say thanks to Isaac for your vulnerability here. I hear this a lot. It's not an uncommon question. I travel and speak about a dozen times a year, and it's not uncommon for someone to come up to me after I get off stage and ask how they can get their spouse on board. So I just wanted to share that with you so you know you're not alone. Now, the next part of that is chances are your spouse has told you why she's not 100% on board. And I don't know for sure what she said, but I'm going to guess because this is what I hear most commonly from other farmers. So maybe it's a case with you too. I most often hear spouses complaining of the time and money it takes to start a farm, right? Farming takes a ton of time and money, time away from your spouse and your family if you've got kids. I hope this hits home with some of you. And Isaac, I know that in your question, you said you're working full-time off the farm at your day job, and you're working full-time growing the farm business. That sounds to me like you might be working 70, 80 hours a week, maybe. I'm guessing most spouses would probably be unhappy with that. And that's a good thing, right? You want your spouse to want to see you a little more often. So maybe she's said something to you, or maybe she's thinking something like, hey, you're gone from home 80 hours a week. You're putting money from your day job into your farm business. When is this ever going to end? Or something like that. Could be what she's thinking. So my thoughts, of course, are totally speculation, but they're based on what I hear from other farmers. And I do have a suggestion for you. The answer for that, my suggestion, is to give her a timeline of when this will end. All right. It might sound something like this. Honey, I know I'm working 80 hours a week right now, and you don't see any money coming in. You only see money going out. But I want to share my plan and my timeline with you so that you can have the big picture. Hopefully that'll help you feel better about what I'm doing. Here's the plan. Then I want you to write your plan down for her. Figure out what that will be. Maybe it looks something like this. Okay, hon, 6 months from now, I'm going to hire my first employee, and I'll be able to take off every Saturday night and Sunday. We'll have that time together. 12 months from now, I will have my second employee hired. We'll have 2 full days off a week, and I'll stop taking money from my day job. Within 2 years, we'll see a $10,000 profit. Within 3 years, we will see $30,000 profit. And within 5 years, my plan is to quit my day job and farming full time, and I'll only be working one job at that point. Then, so lay that out for her. Ask her for her thoughts on your plan and really listen to her concerns. And then I just want you to have a conversation with her about that, and a conversation with what is stopping her from feeling supportive of your plan, like you asked. And then, of course, you've got to do your part to keep on schedule for that plan. You know, make sure you try to reach those goals, your 6-month, your 12-month, your 2-year, 3-year goals of doing that. So what I'm saying is it's just really important to include her in your future projections so she doesn't just see endless time and endless money going out of the family budget for infinity. Okay. So hopefully this information will help you and others. I do see a lot of farms and families break up over this. So come up with a plan to become sustainable and profitable. And I'll bet when you share it with her, it will help her buy into your farm project even more. Okay. So good luck with that. All right. Now the next question. This is from Angela. She asked me if I had to start over, what would I do differently in my farm business? This is such a great question. And it's a little bit of a funny answer, I think, this first thing I'm going to share, because I hear farmers share this same mistake with me all the time. So like many farmers, we bought a tractor the first year. And I soon realized during that first year that we could hire tractor work done to do the few projects we need done on our farm each year for way less money than we were putting into our tractor. I also realized the money we had in the tractor, because we went out and we paid cash, I think it was $15,000. It would have bought a lot more cows and things that were actually making money. And then I still could hire the tractor work done a couple times a year for far less money than was in the tractor. So we got rid of it. Many farmers think they need a tractor. And of course, there are people out there who do, but not everyone does. And that was a mistake we made. And know that there are lots of people doing tractor work. That's how they supplement their income in the winter, and it helps with their cash flow. So we traded in that tractor and expanded our farm with money-making things. And I'm so glad we fixed that mistake. Okay. Now, and then there's one more mistake I made that I wouldn't do again. This was about year 5 in our business. We decided to add cows and pigs. And it's a great thought, but just like I teach all you guys, it diluted our efforts. And I see it doing this to other farmers too. It just took so much more time with not a lot more income. Just like I teach, you've got to have that signature product and stick to it. And we just weren't big enough to expand. It was about 75 acres. So maybe if we had thousands of acres and lots of employees and we're at complete profitability, then it would be time to add diversity. But a lot of farmers are going under because they're stretched so thin doing too many species or products too soon. And I see a lot of farmers out there doing cows and pigs like we were, and chickens like we were, and vegetables, and maybe honey or milk. Just know that that's going to do you in. So we did those cows and pigs for 2 years, and it was totally unsustainable. It diluted our marketing. It at least tripled our workload. Again, I teach these things. I'm able to teach these things because I learned the hard way what works. All right. So, of course, on our farm, but with our marketing students too. So that's definitely something I would not do again. I'd stick to our signature product that we got profitable and stay with that. All right. Now, you guys, time for the last question. And that's from Kristen. Kristen says, we're a year into flower farming and things have begun to grow quickly in all facets. We've got an on-farm flower shop and an event venue. How do I know if it's time to hire help or just scale back? Part of me is scared of letting go of the farming to allow for marketing numbers and growing our business. Okay, you guys, I want to talk to all of you about this for a minute. When we're farming, we are in the production business, kind of like an assembly line producing products only with animals instead of machines. You may not have ever thought of it this way, and I think Joel Salatin is the first one to talk to me about this. So like an assembly line in a factory, the owner of the factory is not on the assembly line doing production. He might have been at first, or she. So we start our businesses because we love that production. But eventually, if you want to grow so that you can quit your day job and build that profitable farm, you can't be out doing all the farming and the production work. You know, whether it's milking cows or growing flowers, you will find that you gradually will have to hire help and work yourself out of the production enough so that you can run the business and also have a good life too. So Kristen, if you're scared of letting go of the farming, you just need to do it anyway. At some point, you're going to have to let go of some of the production work and hire help to take over some of it, or maybe even all of it. All right. You can certainly still do some of the production work, but you will need to run the business. So you asked, how do you know if it's time to hire help or just scale back? It's definitely time to hire help, Kristen. Let me give you an idea of how you can ease into that. You don't have to just go out and hire a 40-hour-a-week employee or even a 20-hour-a-week person. My first few months in business, I knew I couldn't do it all and I was going to burn out quickly. So I hired an employee to come and help milk the cows part-time. Then I found I also needed someone to help me in the office responding to emails. I was just being overwhelmed by emails. And they were customer inquiries and things that were really important, but I couldn't manage it all. So my person who I hired to milk cows, I asked her if she could type. And of course she could. So she would milk the cows. It took her about 3 hours. And then she would come into the house and spend an hour or two answering emails. And this was just a couple of days a week to start. So she was getting an additional 3 or 4 hours of pay each week, which helped her out of a ton. But it also helped me out tremendously because I wasn't just sitting there answering all these emails every day, having my time consumed by that. So I really, truly eased my way into where we are today, where we've got full-time employees and full-time office help. So Kristen, I'd say the same thing to you. It sounds like it's time to hire help out in the garden to get to that point where you can work yourself out of some of the production. Then you will have time to handle the business and the marketing, and you are the most valuable asset in your business, period. So you'll want to hire someone to do the labor part of it. That can be $15 to $20 an hour, whereas your time as the business owner is worth thousands of dollars in the marketing work you're going to learn to do. So there you go. You are definitely at the point where you need to feel the fear of hiring someone, but hire someone anyway so that you can get your farm profitable. Okay, you guys, that's it. That's it for this Q&A on the Profitable Mindset podcast. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, if you have a question you want help with in the future, you can comment on this podcast episode or email me info@3cowmarketing.com with your question. I love being able to help you guys build those profitable farms. I am hearing so much and so often about the success you're having. So thank you for being here. All right, you guys, I will see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. For more great resources, check out theprofitablemindset.com. See you next time.